Now we look at the morning trade, and Meta Platforms has been front and center because the antitrust trial is set to begin today. Joining me now, Caroline Woods is here, and we think of Instagram and WhatsApp, and Meta is certainly under the microscope.
Yeah, this is a high-stakes trial because Meta might be forced to divest both Instagram and WhatsApp. It's facing off against the U.S. Federal Trade Commission. As you said, the trial is expected to begin today. It's a really high-stakes trial. The FTC, of course, alleges that Meta monopolizes the personal social networking market, and they think that Meta should have never been able to buy Instagram for $1 billion back in 2012 and then WhatsApp for $19 billion back in 2014. Both acquisitions, of course, at the time got FTC clearance. In a legal filing, the FTC claims acquiring these competitive threats has enabled Facebook to sustain its dominance to the detriment of competition and users, not by competing on the merits, but by avoiding competition. The trial is expected to last weeks. We're expecting to hear from CEO Mark Zuckerberg, former COO Sheryl Sandberg, and then Instagram founder Kevin Systrom. On a blog post on Meta's website published yesterday, Meta says the FTC's weak case against Meta ignores reality. They say in order to try to win this case, the FTC is alleging that our only competitors are Snapchat and an app called MeWe. But they say the evidence at trial will show what every 17-year-old in the world knows. Instagram competes with TikTok and YouTube and X and many other apps. So basically pointing to the fact that Meta has a lot of competition in the social media space. They say it's absurd that the FTC is trying to break up a great American company, and at the same time, the administration is trying to save the Chinese-owned TikTok. So we are taking a look at Meta shares today. They're up about 1% right now, off earlier highs, up more than 2% earlier this morning. They are still down about 5%, or 6% year to date. Best performing Mag 7 name, though, despite the fact that they're 26% away from the highs just reached in mid-February. So it's obviously been, a victim of the selling pressure that we've seen in big tech, but actually holding up better than the rest of the Mag 7.
Yeah, and without Lina Khan heading the FTC now, I wonder how this goes. It's certainly a big story, without a doubt, because of all these social media apps. I mean, there was one day that WhatsApp went down for businesses, and businesses were really lost. I mean, they were really using that and the competition for Instagram, but so highly used. I mean, what do you think the possible outcomes, if any? Is anybody speculating at all what happens here?
Well, it doesn't sound. I actually saw Lina Khan on CNBC doing an interview, and there is always the chance of a settlement, but based on the fact that it's taken 4 years to actually get to trial, she says that those instances have probably, or outcomes have all probably been exhausted at this point. So it doesn't seem like she thinks that we'll see a settlement. Obviously, she was tough in terms of big tech crackdowns. So we really need to see what the new administration's antitrust appetite is like right now, and this should give us a good sense. I think that if you take a look at the share price today, we haven't really seen Meta shares impacted too much by this, regulatory headwinds that they've been facing. If you take a look at the analyst breakdown, 89% of analysts rate Meta as a buy. The median price target has come down heading into this trial, but that's more about ongoing economic uncertainty, I think, more than anything else. We haven't seen analysts come out and turn really bearish on Meta because of this. But I do think that a potential. It seems like overall people think it will be an uphill battle. Meta's obviously going to focus on the fact that there is quite a bit of competition out there in the space, and the fact that obviously these purchases were cleared by the FTC. But in general, I think if you take a look, it really could limit, Meta's M&A activity going forward. It creates another layer of uncertainty. There's obviously increased compliance costs. So even without a full divestiture of WhatsApp and Instagram, it certainly could weigh on Meta shares, at least in the nearer term. But this has been an ongoing trial, and the trial is expected to last weeks. But who knows what happens after that? And this has been years in the making.
And if you're Mark Zuckerberg, I mean, how brutal when you say to yourself, and you mentioned this, but I'll reiterate it, that this has already been approved by U.S. regulators. What is the reliability of our regulatory standards when they're ever changing, and now you're coming back at me with the same thing? Now that we're successful and doing well, like, you're back. I mean, and if TikTok, which now is sort of paused with our somewhat unfriendly China relationship, that does not bode well for this.
Well, and TikTok's a
then you have
huge
no
competitor
competition.
to Meta because a lot of the younger generation isn't on Instagram Reels. They're on TikTok. So I think that it's really kind of TBD. There is speculation that Mark Zuckerberg has befriended President Trump and has been very pro this administration in terms of getting a lot of FaceTime with the president, donating money, that type of thing, because it's in his best interest for TikTok to get banned, but at the same time, it is competition that hopefully, in Meta's case, if for a good outcome, would prove that they're a viable competitor and that Meta is not a monopoly, not running a monopoly in terms of the personal social networking space. But TBD. But it begins today, and we'll see how it plays out.
And right now, it's up about 0.75% at 547. Thank you. We'll continue to follow that story. Any developments there? I mean, billions and billions of users for all of these. I mean, but it's more about the WhatsApp and the Instagram than it is about the Facebook right now. Okay, Caroline Woods, thank you for that. We want to get a trade in here. Joel Hawthorne, head of equity research at Retail Trader Magazine. You're looking at Meta. Some of your thoughts on how you would go about trading this now?
Nicole, thank you for having me. Always a pleasure. I like Meta for a long-term hold. I think this is a stock that, like many over the past probably 6 to 8 weeks or so we've seen here since going back to the highs in February, that a lot of names have really been under pressure. I like it anywhere around 532 or lower. If we can get back to anywhere around that range, I think that picking up some shares for a long-term hold would be wise for me and my portfolio. I also think, though, where we are right now, it is definitely poised. As the market gets any optimism, this is a name to be watching out for a bit of a pop to the upside. So very optimistic in a name like Meta for the long term.
How are you feeling about trading this week overall? I mean, it's only Monday morning. I don't know if you're exhausted yet. You have 4 days to try and make some money. I don't know how you're approaching a name like Meta or Mag 7. What are you going to do this week?
This week is really one of those short-term wait-and-see kind of approaches for me. I think ultimately it's there's kind of there's a three-step process for me. There's the long-term holds for the portfolio. There's some day trading action when the opportunity presents itself, and then there's the swing stuff that maybe put on for a week or two, or maybe even a little bit longer. But the overall idea here for right now is to be very nimble and be very risk averse. I don't think anyone right now has the confidence to just go full size on any of their positions right now, because the headlines are dominating. We saw this weekend with some of the retractment from the tariffs and the semiconductors and computers, et cetera. That obviously is why I think we opened up so green today. And who knows, that another headline can shift that absolutely completely to the opposite direction. So I think something like that, being nimble and risk averse, is probably the wisest thing that, for me at least, is how I'm approaching this market.
How do you like the volatility? Do you like it? Do you like it a lot?
I love it. I don't just like it. I like it a lot. I love it. I think that right now a lot of traders that can day trade or short-term trade are really appreciating the volatility that we've seen, because volatility determines option prices. And I trade a lot of options, and I think that using those options as leverage is where a lot of money is to be made. I mean, just think about what we saw here just last week or so ago, when the president and the White House notified that some of the other tariffs for other countries was going to be suspended for 90 days. The market saw astronomical move to the upside. I mean, when we had a record day that day, leverage is what won that day. So I think that's something that in leverage using options is what really was the victor that day.
Yeah, I think I saw stats about how many options trades there are. I mean, over the last year or so, just more and more and more options trades as people become more educated too. Joel Hawthorne, Retail Trader Magazine. Thank you so much, Joel. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me.